The last thing I heard before I blacked out was my husband's voice. He wasn't calling for help. He was practicing my eulogy. The slap cracked through the living room, sharp enough to make her ears ring. Claire didn't see the first hit coming, only the look in Michael's eyes that always came before it. Cold, annoyed, as if she were a stain he kept trying to scrub out of his perfect life. She tried to stand her ground, but the wall caught her before she could steady herself. "Get up and stop acting useless," he snarled, shaking out his hand like the impact had bothered him more than it hurt her. She pushed herself upright, breathing through the ache running down her cheek. She had learned not to answer. Words only fed him. Silence sometimes bought her a few seconds. Michael paced in front of her, running a hand through his perfectly styled hair. He never looked ruffled. Even anger seemed to glide off him. The house was spotless, the furniture expensive, everything arranged with the kind of order his family expected. Claire always felt like the one crooked object in the room. He stopped pacing. Dinner was cold again. "It wasn't," she said softly. "You were an hour late." His eyes flicked toward her, and she regretted opening her mouth. He stepped forward, lowering his voice to something almost intimate. "So it's my fault now." She swallowed. "No." He nodded, like she had finally said something correct, and walked back toward the table. The untouched plate sat where she'd left it. He pushed it away with 2 fingers. "You think this is acceptable?" She didn't answer. She kept her gaze fixed on the table leg. That was safer. He let the silence stretch, liking the tension he could later pretend she caused. Every night had become some version of this, a reason, then a punishment, a routine running on his moods and her caution. She had once believed she might adjust, that compromise could keep the peace. Now she saw how foolish that had been. There was no winning with him because he didn't want partnership, he wanted control. He turned suddenly and grabbed her wrist. "Look at me when I talk to you." She lifted her eyes. His grip tightened. "Try harder tomorrow," he said, "and stop making me repeat myself." He let her go and walked to the bar cart. Crystal clinked, bourbon poured. He took a slow sip as if nothing had happened, as if her shaking hands were an overreaction. She backed away and moved toward the kitchen, pretending she needed water. Her body ached, but she didn't dare show it. They were supposed to have brunch with his family in the morning. She needed to be steady enough to smile when his mother looked her over like she was checking for defects. She reached the sink and let her fingers hover over the faucet. She wasn't thirsty, she just needed a moment outside his line of sight. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. She froze. Michael hated when she got messages he wasn't expecting. She checked the screen quickly. A text from her younger brother, Aaron, in town for the night. "You home?" Her breath caught. She hadn't seen him in months, not because she didn't want to, but because visits always turned into fights with Michael. Aaron never hid his distrust of her husband, and Michael used that as proof Claire's family was uncultured and dramatic. She typed a fast reply. "Not a good night. I'll call tomorrow." She deleted the message right after sending it. She had learned to clear any trace of her private conversations. Michael checked her phone when he felt suspicious, and he always felt suspicious. She turned back toward the living room. He was watching her now, glass in hand. "Who was that?" he asked. She kept her tone even. "Spam number. I deleted it." He studied her like he was trying to see through her skin. After a beat, he nodded slowly and took another sip of bourbon. "Go to bed. You're giving me a headache." She headed down the hall without breathing too deeply, not wanting to provoke anything else tonight. The bedroom was cold. She slid onto her side of the mattress and pulled the blanket tight around her. The house carried sound too easily, so she stayed perfectly still, waiting to hear if he followed. He didn't. The clink of his glass echoed once more. Then the low hum of the TV filled the silence. Claire let out a shaky breath. Just a few hours until morning. She could make it to brunch, smile at his mother, pretend everything was normal, and maybe that would be enough to keep tonight from happening again. She closed her eyes, but sleep didn't come. Her mind drifted back, as it always did, to the first time she met Michael's family. His mother, Lauren, shaking her hand like she was expecting a spark. His sister, Grace, examining her clothes with a raised brow. They were polite, but in the way someone is polite to a waiter they don't plan to tip. Michael had seemed different then, charming, sweet, a little arrogant, but she had thought that came from confidence. She didn't realize it came from entitlement. Morning came too quickly. Brunch was at his parents' country club, a place that always made her feel like she was back in school wearing the wrong uniform. She sat beside Michael, body stiff, while the table filled with soft laughter and sharp comments. Lauren leaned forward, her nails perfectly manicured. "Claire, honey, you look tired. Are you sleeping?" Claire forced a smile. "A little. You should take better care of yourself. Michael already has enough stress." Michael squeezed Claire's knee under the table, a warning disguised as affection. Grace chimed in without looking up at her phone. "Maybe Claire needs a hobby, something to keep her from feeling bored." "I'm not bored," Claire said quietly. Grace smirked. "Then why do you always look distracted?" Michael laughed softly, as if Grace had made a harmless joke. "She's sensitive. Let her be." Claire held on to the smile, even though her throat felt tight. This was how they spoke to her when they were being pleasant. When they weren't, they hinted she didn't deserve their last name. Lauren took a sip of her mimosa. "Michael told us you've been feeling unstable lately. I'm glad he's being patient with you. Many men wouldn't be." The words hit her like cold water. Michael had been laying groundwork behind her back, setting her up as the problem. She kept her voice steady. "I'm fine." Michael looked at her like she'd said something irresponsible. "Don't pretend everything is perfect, Claire. It's okay to admit when you're struggling." She swallowed hard. She could feel everyone's eyes on her. "I'm not struggling." Norin frowned. Denial won't help. She felt heat crawl up her neck. Michael watched her discomfort like entertainment. A waiter approached, breaking the tension. As soon as he stepped away, he leaned in, his voice low enough that only she could hear him. "Don't make a scene." She stared at her plate and didn't speak for the rest of brunch. When they got home, he didn't talk to her for hours. Silence was his favorite punishment. She cleaned the kitchen, folded laundry, straightened the living room, using the tasks to quiet her thoughts. But when she reached his office to drop off mail, something on his desk caught her attention. A lipstick smudge on a white envelope, a color she never wore. Her chest tightened. She opened the envelope with trembling hands. Inside was a handwritten note. "Last night was perfect. I can't keep pretending we're nothing. Call me." No name, no number, but she didn't need either. Her head spun. The room tilted. She gripped the desk to keep herself upright. She should have walked away, but the anger hit her fast, cutting through fear. She marched downstairs and found Michael sitting on the couch, scrolling through his phone. "What is this?" she asked, holding up the note. He glanced at it, then at her. His expression barely shifted. "Where did you get that?" "Your office." He sighed like she was inconveniencing him. "You shouldn't be going through my things." "Are you cheating on me?" Her voice shook. His jaw flexed. "Don't start. Just tell me the truth." He stood up slowly. "The truth?" he echoed, stepping closer. "The truth is you're paranoid, unstable. I've tried to be patient, but you keep proving me right." She backed away. "Michael, that note!" He grabbed her arm before she could finish, his grip tightening. "You don't get to question me," he said. "You don't get to accuse me." "You're hurting me," she whispered. "You hurt yourself," he said. Then he shoved her backward. She stumbled into the wall, trying not to fall. The room blurred. He came at her again, louder now, angrier now, blaming her for every slight, every imagined insult, every moment that didn't go his way. She tried to shield herself, but he didn't stop. His anger built, like it was feeding on the fear in her eyes. Her legs buckled. The pain roared in her ribs. Her vision narrowed. "Michael," she gasped, "stop!" He didn't hear her, or he didn't care. Her body hit the floor harder than she expected. She tried to push up again, but the room dipped and twisted. She felt herself slipping. His voice sounded far away now, muffled, fading. Her fingers trembled against the hardwood. Everything went black. Claire heard voices before she could open her eyes. They drifted in and out, faint and hollow, like they were moving underwater. Someone was calling her name, but it didn't sound worried. It sounded irritated. Then everything snapped back into place with one sharp breath. She opened her eyes to bright hospital lights and the heavy pressure of wires taped to her skin. Her ribs burned, her head throbbed, her mouth tasted like metal. A nurse leaned over her. "Claire, can you hear me?" Claire blinked, trying to sit up, but pain shot through her side and forced her back down. "Don't move yet," the nurse said gently. "You fainted and hit the floor hard." Fainted? The word rang in her ears like a warning. It was exactly what Michael would have told them. Where is he? As if summoned by her fear, he appeared in the doorway, hair perfect, shirt crisp, expression carefully arranged into heartbreak. He stepped inside slowly, as if entering a grieving room. "Claire," he breathed, his voice shaking just enough to sound human. "Thank God." She flinched when he came near, but he didn't notice. He sat beside the bed and grabbed her hand before she could pull it away. "My love," he murmured, loud enough for the nurse to hear. "You scared me half to death." The nurse gave him a sad smile. "She's stable now. Her vitals were concerning at first, but she's improving." Michael brushed Claire's hair away from her forehead, soft and careful, the perfect husband. "I've told her she needs to stop overworking." Claire stared at him. Overwork? She hadn't worked outside the home in years because he made sure she stayed isolated. She tried to speak, but her throat scratched. The nurse brought water and helped her sip. Michael watched the whole thing like he was standing vigil. When the nurse stepped away to check a monitor, Michael leaned close, whispering through his teeth while keeping his face sweet. "You're going to tell them you fainted from stress. Do you understand?" Her breath caught. His thumb stroked the back of her hand in a gentle rhythm that didn't match the threat in his voice. "If you say something stupid, you'll regret it, and so will your brother." Her heart lurched. "Aaron," she whispered. Michael smiled warmly as if she'd just said something loving. "He shouldn't be in town without telling me. Makes him look suspicious." Her pulse jumped. He knew her brother was nearby. How? She didn't even answer Aaron's message with anything meaningful. The nurse returned, forcing Michael to lean back and play the grieving husband again. He wiped at his eyes like he'd been crying. Claire wanted to scream, but her voice stayed locked behind fear. A doctor entered, flipping through her chart. "Mrs. Turner, we'll keep you overnight for observation. You have bruising, fatigue, and low blood pressure, but nothing life-threatening." Michael exhaled loudly and squeezed Claire's hand hard enough to hurt. "Thank you," he said. "She's been under so much emotional strain lately. I should have seen the signs." Claire's throat tightened. Every lie he said was calmly accepted, smoothly woven into the doctor's assumptions. She tried again. "I didn't faint because—" Michael cut in with a shaky laugh. "She gets embarrassed easily. She doesn't like people worrying about her." The doctor nodded sympathetically. "It happens. Let's focus on rest and hydration." Claire closed her eyes. She felt trapped twice over now, in the bed and in his story. When the doctor and nurse stepped away, Michael leaned close again. "You always ruin things," he murmured. "Even unconscious, you make my life harder." She turned her face away. He grabbed her chin and forced her to look at him. "You're nothing without me. Remember that?" Footsteps outside the door made him release her instantly. His face softened into sorrow again like a switch flipping. A new nurse peeked in. "Mr. Turner, someone is asking for you in the waiting room." "Who?" he asked. She shrugged. They didn't give a name. Michael looked thrown for the night for the first time, only for a split second. Then he stood, fixed his shirt sleeves, and kissed Claire's forehead like a worried husband would. "I'll be right back," he said, for the audience of one nurse. Once he left, Claire waited a full minute before sitting up slowly. Everything hurt, but she forced herself upright. She needed her phone. She needed to warn Aaron. She checked the little bedside drawer. Not there. Her panic sharpened. Michael must have taken it. She scanned the room again and spotted something on the chair across from her bed. Aaron's jacket. Her breath hitched. She gripped the fabric with shaking hands. Something heavy was in the pocket. She reached in and pulled out a flash drive. Her heart pounded against her ribs.
Erin had left this for her. She wanted to plug it into something, anything, but she knew there were security risks in a hospital room, and Michael could walk back in any second. Before she could hide the jacket again, another nurse entered to check her vitals. "You're holding that pretty tightly," the nurse said lightly.
"It's my brother's," Claire said, trying to sound casual. "He forgot it." The nurse nodded, made a few notes, and left. Claire tucked the flash drive under the blanket. Minutes stretched, her mind raced. Aaron had been here, he had left something important, and Michael was nervous about someone waiting for him. That combination terrified her. She forced herself to breathe evenly. She needed to stay awake. She needed to think. A faint sound outside the hallway snapped her attention toward the door. Raised voices. One of them Michael's. "What do you think you're doing?" he hissed. Claire's pulse hammered. She strained to listen, but the words blurred under distance and noise. A cart rolled by, a patient groaned, a monitor beeped, then silence. A few seconds later, her door opened. Michael walked in again, calmer now, but his shirt was wrinkled and his mouth was tight. Someone had shaken him. She could feel it in the way he walked, in the way he avoided her eyes. "Everything's fine," he said too quickly. "Just a misunderstanding." She stared at him. He didn't like being questioned, so she didn't speak. But her silence wasn't obedience. It was fear growing roots. He sat down again. "You're going to rest. No talking, no thinking." His hand brushed her hair. "You're my wife. I'll take care of everything." She felt sick. A nurse came in. "Mr. Turner, the waiting room is asking for you again." Michael's jaw twitched. "Tell them I'm with my wife." "They said it's urgent." "Tell them." The nurse held up a slip of paper. "They also said to give you this." He snatched it from her, unfolded it, and froze. Claire watched his face drain of color, only for a second. Then he forced it back into place. "Who gave you this?" he asked. "A man? He said you'd know." Michael crumpled the paper and shoved it into his pocket. Claire had never seen him scared before, not truly. He left the room without another word. Her heart pounded harder. She clutched Aaron's jacket, feeling the shape of the flash drive like a lifeline. The hospital hallway buzzed with low voices. Nurses moved fast, like something was happening nearby. Claire strained to hear any piece of conversation that might give her a clue. She finally stood, ignoring the stab of pain under her ribs. She needed to see what was happening. She reached the doorway and peered into the hall. Michael stood across the waiting room, talking to someone with his back turned to her. His shoulders were tight, his posture stiffer than she'd ever seen. And then she noticed a uniform near the front desk, a man speaking quietly to the receptionist, a badge clipped to his belt. A detective. He held something in his hand. Her stomach dropped. She stepped back into her room before Michael noticed her. She sat quickly, head spinning. Every breath shook. Who had he been talking to? What was on the slip of paper? Where was Aaron? Footsteps approached again. Her pulse spiked. The door opened. Michael walked inside, smiling, but the smile didn't reach his eyes. He walked to the bed and placed a soft hand on her shoulder. "Don't worry," he said. "Everything is being handled." She nodded, though her heart told her something was coming, something he couldn't stop. Michael brushed a thumb across her cheek, still pretending affection even when the nurses weren't watching. "We're going to go home soon, and none of this will matter." Before she could respond, the door swang open again. A man stepped inside, tall, calm, serious eyes, a badge on his hip. "Mr. Turner?" the detective asked. Michael straightened, that perfect smile sliding over his face like armor. "Yes, officer. Can I help you?" The detective raised an object in his hand. A phone. Claire recognized the case before her brain caught up. Aaron's phone. The detective's voice was steady, but the words struck like lightning. "We need to talk about the video on this device." Michael's smile froze. The world under him shifted, and Claire realized someone else had seen everything, and they had already stepped forward. Claire woke to the sound of low voices arguing outside her hospital room. Her head still felt heavy, like the world was wrapped in cotton, but even through the haze, she recognized one of the voices, Michael. The other voice was Aaron. She pushed herself up slowly, ignoring the ache in her ribs. The door was cracked just enough for their words to slip through. "You don't get it,"
Aaron whispered harshly. "I saw what you did." Michael's reply was calm with a sharp edge. "Delete the video." "No." "You think anyone will believe you?" asked Michael. "I'm the one who brought you in. I'm the one caring for you. You're the one who put you here." Claire gripped the blanket. Hearing her brother's voice made something inside her crack open. Fear, hope, both tangled together. "Retract your statement," Michael said. "Tell the detective you misunderstood. Say she fainted before you got inside." "You think I'm scared of you?" Aaron shot back. Michael laughed softly. "You should be. You don't know what you're stepping into." A nurse passed by and the voices stopped. When the hallway quieted again, Claire heard Michael speak in a low, dark tone. "You're risking her life doing this." Aaron didn't answer. His silence felt charged. A moment later, footsteps faded and Claire heard the elevator ding. Someone was leaving, someone angry. She lowered herself back onto the pillow right before Michael walked in. His face looked composed again, gentle even, but she could see the strain around his eyes. He carried a cup of coffee and forced a smile. "Morning, sweetheart. How are you feeling?" She stared at him without answering. He set the coffee down and sat on the edge of the bed. "The detective asked me a few questions, nothing serious. I explained everything." "I know," she whispered. He paused. "What do you know?" "I heard you." He didn't flinch. He didn't even shift. His expression stayed soft, almost sympathetic. "Claire, you're confused." "No," she said. "Stop saying that." He brushed his hand across her cheek and she jerked away. "See, you're not well." The door opened and a nurse stepped in with a chart. Michael moved back, letting his fake concern fill the room again. The nurse smiled at him like he was a devoted husband. "You're so patient. A lot of men wouldn't stay overnight." Michael lowered his gaze. "She's my whole world." Claire wanted to scream. Instead, she closed her eyes because fighting him gave him more power. The nurse checked her vitals and left. When the door clicked shut, Michael leaned in again. "You're going to say you fainted, that's all." "Why?" she asked, her voice shaking. His smile faded, his eyes hardened. "Because I'm the only one keeping you safe." She didn't respond. She didn't trust her own voice. A knock at the door approached. This time it was a tall man in a tailored suit, sharp eyes, confident steps. A lawyer. Michael stood immediately. "Claire," Michael said in a warm tone, "this is Daniel Reed. He's here to help us." Daniel offered Claire a kind smile, too kind for a man like Michael to hire naturally, which means only one thing. Michael's family is involved. Daniel sat in a chair near the bed. "Mrs. Turner, I just want to ask a few questions to protect you."
Claire didn't look at him. "I don't need protection from myself." "She's exhausted," Michael cut in. "Maybe we should reschedule." Daniel shook his head. "It'll only take a minute." Claire didn't trust either of them, but she felt too trapped to argue. Daniel opened a file. "First, we've been told you've been under emotional stress. Is that true?" "No." "Any recent medication changes?" "No." "Have you experienced panic attacks, dizziness, or mental confusion in the last month?" "No." Michael stepped forward. "Claire, just answer honestly." "I am." Daniel gave her a sympathetic frown. "Sometimes patients don't recognize the signs of depression." "I'm not depressed," she said. Michael exhaled loudly. "She's in denial." Claire's heart raced. She saw the trap forming right in front of her. They weren't just creating a story. They were building a case against her. Daniel closed the file and stood. "We'll talk again later. Rest for now." Michael walked him out of the room. Before the door closed, Claire heard Daniel whisper, "We need to move fast. The detective is asking the wrong questions." Claire let out a shaky breath. Wrong questions? As in, questions Michael didn't want asked? She pulled herself up despite the pain and reached for Aaron's jacket again. She checked the pocket, making sure the flash drive was still there. She hid it under her pillow when she heard footsteps returning. Michael stepped back inside, shutting the door behind him. "You embarrassed me," he said quietly. "You should have cooperated. Daniel is one of the best in the state. My parents paid a fortune to get him here." She froze.
His parents, of course. They handled everything for him. They treated every scandal like a stain they could scrub out with money and influence. "What are they telling people about me?" she asked. Michael didn't answer right away. He adjusted his sleeves, buying time. "They think you're overwhelmed, fragile, maybe abusing prescription meds." Her eyes widened. "What?" He shrugged. "It works. People will believe it." She felt like she had been punched again. "Why would you say that about me?" "Because it protects us," he said calmly. "If you make a scene or say something untrue, people need a reason to dismiss it." "Untrue?" she whispered. Michael leaned close. "You think anyone will believe you over me?" Her stomach twisted. He stood and moved to the window, checking his reflection like he needed reassurance. "You were chosen for a reason, Claire. Someone like you doesn't get a husband like me without help." "Chosen," she repeated quietly. He didn't even try to soften the truth. "My mother said we needed someone sweet, someone manageable, someone who wouldn't hurt the family's image." He smiled like he was telling her something flattering. "And you fit perfectly. Polite, modest background, easy to impress." She shook her head. "You married me because I was easy to control." He didn't deny it. "Don't act surprised," he said. "You should be grateful. You got a life other women would kill for." She almost laughed. Almost. But the pain in her chest kept the sound trapped inside. He walked back to the bed and placed a hand on her shoulder. "I gave you more than you deserved." She pulled away. He sighed, annoyed. "You're making this harder on yourself." A knock sounded. A nurse peeked in. "Mrs. Turner, your brother is asking for you." Michael stiffened. He was told to leave. The nurse frowned. "He's been waiting in the lobby. He said he won't go until he speaks to his sister." Claire's pulse quickened. "Tell him I'll see him." Michael shot her a sharp look. The nurse nodded and stepped out. When they were alone again, Michael leaned over her, voice low and dangerous. "Say one wrong thing to him and I'll make sure he regrets coming here." Claire didn't answer. She couldn't trust her voice not to crack. He straightened and smoothed his hair. "I'll escort you," he said. "You're too weak to walk alone." She hated needing him for anything, even balance, but her legs wobbled when she stood. He guided her down the hallway with a firm grip on her elbow. As they approached the lobby, she saw Aaron pacing near a row of chairs. His jaw was tight. His eyes were red, either from anger or worry, she couldn't tell. When he saw her, he rushed forward. "Claire, oh my God." Michael stepped between them. "She can only talk for a minute." Aaron ignored him. He looked directly at his sister. "Did you see the video I sent you?" Claire froze. "No, I didn't." Michael cut her off. "She doesn't want to talk about anything stressful right now." Aaron's eyes narrowed. "Claire, I need to show you something." Michael grabbed Aaron's arm. "That's enough." Aaron jerked away. "Don't touch me." People were staring now. Nurses, patients, a security guard. Michael saw the attention and immediately switched masks. His voice softened. "Aaron, please, we're all tense. Let's not cause a scene." Aaron stepped closer to Claire, lowering his voice. "Mom called. She said you froze your bank accounts." Claire's chest tightened. "What?" Michael didn't deny it. "You're not in a condition to make financial decisions." "You're unbelievable," Aaron snapped. "You're trying to trap her." "She needs support." "She needs freedom," Aaron said. "She needs to get away from you." Michael grabbed his arm again, harder this time. "Enough." Aaron shoved him back hard enough to draw gasps from the lobby. A security guard approached. "Is there a problem here?" Michael straightened his shirt. "Just a misunderstanding." Aaron pointed at him. "He's lying. He's abusive." The security guard stepped between them. "Sir, I need you to calm down." Michael shook his head like he regretted the whole scene. "He's upset. We all are." Aaron glared at him. "You're not getting away with this." Michael leaned in. "You have no idea what you've started." Aaron didn't respond. He took Claire's hands and whispered, "Find a computer. Plug in the drive." Her breath caught. "What's on it?" "Proof. Everything." Michael pulled her away before she could ask more. They walked back to her room in heavy silence. When they reached the door, Michael didn't let go of her arm. "You're done talking to him." She didn't answer. He leaned closer. "If he keeps pushing, he'll lose everything, and it'll be your fault." She felt something inside her crack further. Fear, helplessness, anger. She couldn't tell which was louder. When he finally left the room, she sat on the edge of the bed and let herself shake. She had the flash drive, she had a clue, but she had no idea what to do with either. Hours passed. Afternoon light faded, nurses rotated in and out. Michael's attorney returned with more questions she didn't answer. When visiting hours ended, a new nurse came in to lower the blinds. She paused before leaving. "You have a visitor." Claire's heart jumped. "Who?" The nurse smiled. "Your mother-in-law." Claire's stomach dropped. Lauren walked in wearing a pearl necklace and a smile that never touched her eyes. She closed the door behind her. "You look terrible, but we'll fix that." Claire stayed silent. Lauren sat in the chair by the bed and crossed her legs. "Let's speak plainly. Aaron is becoming a problem." Claire's pulse sped up. "Leave him alone." She tilted her head. "I offered him money to drop this nonsense. More than he'll ever see in his life." Claire's breath stopped. "You what?" "He refused," Lauren said with a small sigh, "which makes him stubborn, and stubborn men make dangerous choices." Claire's throat tightened. "Don't touch him." Lauren smiled again, calm and cold. "That depends on you, dear." Claire's hands shook. "He didn't do anything wrong." Lauren stood and brushed invisible dust from her skirt. "Wrong doesn't matter. Optics do. We can't have your little brother waving around accusations. He needs guidance or silence." Claire's voice broke. "Please don't hurt him." Lauren leaned down, her perfume sharp and heavy. "Then convince him to stand down, or this will get messy." She walked out without another word. Claire folded forward, shaking, covering her face with her hands. She had no power, no money, no voice anyone listened to, but she had the flash drive and Aaron's warning. Night came. The hospital quieted, most lights dimmed. Claire waited until she was sure Michael wasn't coming back. She slid out of bed, grabbed Aaron's jacket, and forced herself down the hall toward the tiny family waiting area. There was an old computer mounted to the wall for guests. Slow, outdated, but functional. Her hand trembled as she pushed the flash drive into the port. A folder appeared. She clicked it. Then she froze. What she saw on the screen made her stomach twist and her breath stop short. But before she could open the next file, footsteps echoed behind her. She turned. Michael stood in the hallway watching her, expression dark, dangerous, silently furious, and the flash drive was still glowing in the port. Michael didn't speak at first. He just stared at Claire like he was trying to decide whether to shout or smile. Both expressions flickered across his face before he settled on something cold and controlled. "What are you doing?" he asked. Claire's mouth went dry. I was checking email." "On a hospital lobby computer?" he asked quietly. "At midnight?" She swallowed hard. "I couldn't sleep." His gaze dropped to the flash drive still plugged into the port. His jaw tightened. "Whose is that?" Claire's heart pounded. "Mine." He stepped closer, slow, deliberate. "Try again." She shifted back instinctively, but there was nowhere to go. The chair pressed into the back of her knees. "It's just files," she whispered. "Personal things." Michael leaned in, his face inches from hers. "You're lying to me again." She felt the fear rise in her throat, thick enough to choke her, but she forced herself not to close her eyes. Closing them always made it worse. He reached over her shoulder and yanked the flash drive out of the computer. The screen froze, the video she opened stuck on the last visible frame, a blurry image of their hallway, their house, her collapsing. Michael saw the frame too. His expression didn't change, but something sharp entered his eyes. He slipped the flash drive into his pocket. "This is mine now." Claire felt her chest tighten. "Give it back." "No, it's not yours." He smiled calmly. "Everything you have is mine." She lowered her voice. "It was from Aaron." He paused for 1 second, the slip of honesty hitting him harder than she expected. Then he grabbed her arm hard. "You're done with him," he said. "Do you understand? He's ruining your life." Claire's voice shook. "He's trying to save me." Michael's grip tightened until she gasped. "Save you from what? A husband who takes care of you? A family who protects you? Your brother is filling your head with lies." "He saw you hurt me." Michael leaned close. "And you fainted, that's all." "That's not all." He cut her off. "Say anything else, and I'll make sure he loses everything. His job, his apartment, his record, whatever it takes." Her knees buckled slightly. The quiet threat hit her harder than shouting ever could. He let go and stepped back, adjusting his shirt cuffs with a bored expression. "I don't want to fight with you, but you need to stop letting him drag you into chaos." Claire blinked fast to keep from crying. "He's not dragging me, he's protecting me." Michael gave a soft, almost pitying laugh. "Protecting you from me? Claire, look at yourself. You're weak. You can't even stand without help. Why would anyone believe you?" For a moment, it felt like her breath froze in her chest. He took her elbow again. "Let's go back to your room." She didn't move. "Claire," he warned. Her legs finally responded, shaking as he guided her down the hall. The quiet hum of machines filled the air. A nurse walked by and smiled at the sight of Michael supporting her. He smiled back, the perfect husband. Once they were inside the room, he closed the door gently. "You will rest," he said. "Tomorrow you will tell the detective the truth." "What truth?" she whispered. "That you fainted? That you've been emotional? That you're overwhelmed?" She shook her head. "I'm not saying that." His smile faded, his eyes hardened. "Because I'm the only one keeping you safe." She didn't respond. She didn't trust her own voice. A knock at the door interrupted them. This time, it was the detective. He stepped inside with a calm, unreadable expression. He nodded politely. "Mrs. Turner, I have a few questions." Claire's pulse kicked. "About the video?" The detective met her eyes. "Yes, but also about something else." She felt the dread coil tight. "What happened?" she whispered. He held up a sealed envelope, thick, heavy, no return name. "This arrived at the front desk, addressed to me, anonymous." Her breath caught. He continued. "Inside was hospital security footage from last night, footage that does not match your husband's statement." Claire's heart thundered so loudly she thought he could hear it. "And," the detective added, "there was a note." He unfolded a small slip of paper. The handwriting was blocky, rushed, almost angry. He read it. "He does this every night." Claire's eyes filled with tears. She dared not blink away. She looked at the envelope again. Someone else had seen. Someone else had stepped forward. Someone she didn't even know. "Do you know who would have sent this?" the detective asked. Claire shook her head. "No, I don't know, I swear." The detective nodded slowly. "Then there's more going on here than you realize." Before Claire could ask anything else, the overhead lights flickered once, twice, then returned to normal. The detective turned toward the hallway. "Stay in your room and do not speak to your husband until I speak with him first." He left quickly, heading toward the security wing. Claire sat down, shaking, pressing her hand over her mouth. Someone sent the footage. Someone was watching. Someone wanted the truth out. Minutes passed before she saw Michael again. He stepped into the dim room sullenly. His face looked calm, but she saw the tension in the way he held his shoulders. He walked to the corner where the security monitor sat, a small screen the hospital used to loop basic information and announcements. Except now the monitor wasn't showing announcements, it was showing hallway camera feeds, live feeds. Michael stared at the screen, confused, then tense. Then something shifted in his expression. He leaned closer. Someone else was watching the same feeds, someone he didn't know, someone who knew his patterns. His eyes widened as one feed zoomed in like someone on the other end was adjusting the controls, and then the screen froze on an image of him from the night before standing over Claire's unconscious body. Michael's face drained of color. For the first time, Claire saw fear in his eyes. Someone was watching him, and he had no idea who. Claire woke to the sound of someone whispering in the dark. At first, she thought she was dreaming. The voice was low, steady, almost gentle, but the words didn't match the tone. "And if she doesn't pull through, I'll say she tried her best," Michael murmured. "People will feel sorry for me. They always do." Her eyes fluttered open. Michael was sitting in the chair beside her bed, elbows on his knees, hands clasped like he was praying. Except he wasn't praying. He was rehearsing. "I'll say she was struggling," he whispered. "Too much stress, too much pressure. I did everything I could. I stayed by her side. I tried to save her." He paused, exhaled like he was practicing grief. "And everyone will say I was a good husband." A cold wave moved through Claire's chest. He wasn't talking to her. He was practicing a eulogy. The hair on her arms rose. She didn't move. She didn't even dare breathe louder. She lay very still, eyes half open, watching him through her lashes. Michael pressed 2 fingers to his forehead. "But I can't cry too much," he muttered. "Men who cry too much make people suspicious." Her heart hammered so hard she felt it in her teeth. He wanted her quiet, silent, forever. That had always been the easiest outcome for him. A wife who couldn't talk, couldn't tell anyone the truth, couldn't expose him. He leaned back in the chair, rubbing his face. "I shouldn't have to deal with this. She always ruins everything." She squeezed her eyes shut again just before he looked her way. He stood and walked toward her bed. She felt his presence hover over her for a few seconds, like he was deciding what his next move should be. Then he leaned down and kissed her forehead. The kiss felt like a threat. "You'll stay quiet," he whispered, "one way or another." He left the room, closing the door softly behind him. Claire stayed frozen until she was sure he was gone. Then she slowly pushed herself upright, breathing fast, clutching the blanket with shaking fingers. He was preparing for her death. The realization hit her with a weight she couldn't escape. He didn't love her enough to keep her alive. He feared losing control. Her throat tightened as she whispered to herself, "I can't stay here." The door opened again. A different nurse walked in, cheerful and unaware. "Good morning, Claire. Ready for breakfast?" Claire nodded quickly so the nurse wouldn't linger. Her thoughts were spinning too fast to focus on food. The nurse set the tray down. "You're trending all over local social media. Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing." Claire froze. "What do you mean?" "Oh, I shouldn't talk about it," the nurse said lightly. "Hospital rules." Claire's chest tightened. "Please tell me." The nurse hesitated, then sighed. "A story is going around saying you attacked your husband, then fainted during the argument." Claire felt the room tilt. "What?" "And that you've been acting unstable for months. Some people online are saying you need professional help." Claire gripped the edge of the tray. "That's not true." The nurse looked sympathetic. "I know, but rumors spread fast, and your husband's family is very well known. People take their words seriously." Claire felt something break inside her, another piece of her identity falling away. She had tried so hard to keep her dignity, to keep her truth, and now even strangers thought she was dangerous. The nurse placed a hand on her shoulder. "Just focus on healing." But healing wasn't an option anymore. Not here, not with him. After the nurse left, Claire reached for her phone, then remembered she didn't have it. Michael still had everything that belonged to her, her documents, her cards, her passwords. She looked toward the drawer where the hospital had placed her personal items. She opened it. Empty. She checked the closet. Empty. She checked every corner of the room. Nothing. He had removed everything. She sank onto the bed, shaking. If she wanted freedom, she had nothing to use. No ID, no money, no phone, no friend who would side with her. Her chest tightened at the thought. Her best friend, Katie. She needed Katie. Claire grabbed the room phone and dialed Katie's number from memory. It rang once, twice, then connected. "Hello?" "It's Katie." A long pause. Too long. "Oh, Claire." Relief flooded Claire. "Thank God! I need help. Something's happening and Claire, I can't get involved," Katie said quickly. Claire froze. "What?" "It's messy," Katie continued. "Michael said you've been unstable. He said you're confused." Claire's knees went weak. "You believe him?" Well, he explained everything, and you know his family. They wouldn't lie about something this serious. They would, Claire whispered. They already have. Another pause. Look, Katie said, her voice lowering, I'm about to sign a contract with his father's company. I can't have my name mixed in with drama. Claire felt sick. So you're choosing him? I'm choosing my career, and staying away is best for both of us. The line went dead. Claire lowered the phone, breath shaking. Another betrayal, another door slamming. She moved toward the window, clutching her ribs, forcing herself to stay upright. She pressed her forehead against the cold glass and closed her eyes. Mom? Dad? Anyone? She had no one left except Aaron. But when she asked the afternoon nurse if Aaron was still in the waiting room, the nurse frowned. Your brother? She asked. He left hours ago. Actually, security escorted him out. Her breath caught. Why? I'm not sure. They said someone filed a complaint. He wasn't allowed to return. Her stomach twisted violently. Who filed it? The nurse hesitated. I'm not supposed to say, but Claire knew. Michael. Her lungs felt too tight to breathe. Did he say where he was going? No, he didn't speak to anyone. Claire felt her legs wobble. She sank onto the edge of the bed, pressing her mouth with a hand. Aaron wouldn't leave without calling, unless he was forced, unless something had happened. She grabbed the bedside rail to steady herself. Her mind raced with possibilities she didn't want to think about. Minutes passed, then an hour, then another. No call, no message, no word. At sunset, the detective returned. He looked serious, almost frustrated. Mrs. Turner, I need to ask you a few more questions. Claire nodded weakly. He sat in the chair beside her. Earlier today, your husband submitted new evidence, emails, voice messages, a statement from a friend. Claire's pulse spiked. Katie? Yes. She told us she's been concerned about your mental state. Claire covered her face. That's not true. She's lying because of him. I don't think you're dangerous, the detective said gently, but this situation is spiraling.
His family has influence. They're shaping the narrative fast. Claire swallowed hard. Please tell me you believe me. He didn't answer right away. He didn't have to. His silence hurt more than the truth. He stood after a moment. I'm doing what I can, but you need to prepare yourself. His family has already hired a crisis team. They're efficient. He left before she could ask more. That night, the sky outside her window faded into black. The hospital grew quiet again. A soft hum filled the hallways. She felt like the walls were tightening around her. She forced herself out of bed, pain stabbing with every movement. She needed answers. She needed anything that would give her a sense of control again. She reached for her bag, only to remember again that it was gone. Every asset, every card, every document, gone. She went to the bathroom and turned on the light. Her reflection stared back at her, pale, bruised, exhausted. A stranger. She opened the bathroom cabinet, hoping to find something, anything. Her heart stopped when she saw a folded document inside, a legal file. She pulled it out with trembling hands. It had Michael's signature at the bottom. It was dated 8 months earlier. Transfer of property, transfer of bank accounts, transfer of assets, all in Michael's name. Her name had been removed from everything. She broke quietly, a silent sob that hollowed her from the inside out, the kind that didn't make noise because there was no air left to cry with. Every bad financial month he blamed her for, every bill she didn't understand, every account that mysteriously glitched. He had built her downfall step by step. He had planned it. She stumbled back into the room and sank onto the bed, clutching the documents. They shook in her hands. Her world felt like it was collapsing piece by piece, the same way her body had collapsed on the living room floor. Her job, her accounts, her friends, her reputation, her safety, gone, all orchestrated by the man who was supposed to love her. She didn't hear the door open, she didn't hear the footsteps, but she felt someone's presence. When she looked up, a shadow stood just inside the room. Not Michael, not a nurse, a woman, tall, thin,
wearing a dark coat, her hair pulled back, her face half hidden by the dim light. She stepped inside without a word and quietly closed the door behind her. Claire's heartbeat stumbled. "Who are you?" Claire whispered. The woman didn't answer. She took another step forward. Claire's breath caught, fear and confusion tangling inside her. And then the woman lifted her chin, letting the light hit her face. She looked familiar, too familiar, impossible. Her voice was soft but steady. "Don't be afraid, Claire." Claire went cold. Who are you?" The woman stepped closer. "My name is Emily." Claire shook her head. "No, you can't be. Michael said I died," she finished. "I know." Claire couldn't breathe. Emily stepped closer until she was only a few feet away. "He didn't just hurt you," she said, "and he thinks I'm dead." Claire's blood ran cold. Emily reached into her coat and pulled out a thick file, a file with Michael's name on it. Before Claire could speak, before she could even process what she was seeing, Emily placed the file in her lap, and everything Claire thought she knew started to shatter. Claire stared at Emily like she was looking at a ghost. Her hands shook so hard the file nearly slipped from her lap. Everything inside her wanted to deny what she was seeing, because if Emily was alive, then the story Michael told, the accident, the tragedy, the grieving widower, was a lie so deep she couldn't understand how far it went. "You're supposed to be dead," Claire whispered. Emily gave her a sad, tired smile. "I know." "You disappeared. He told you I wrapped my car around a tree," Emily said softly, "and that he tried to save me." She looked down at her hands. "He practiced that story for weeks before he told it to people." Claire felt her stomach twist. Why would he lie about something like that? Emily sat on the chair by the bed, folding her coat over her knees. "Because if people knew I ran from him, they would ask why, and Michael can't survive why." Claire swallowed. "How long were you two married?" 3 years, Emily said. 3 years of pretending everything was fine while he decided what kind of wife I was allowed to be." Claire felt a chill run through her. "He did to you what he's doing to me." Emily nodded slowly. "The control, the lies, the reputation games, the bruises in places that don't show. It's all part of his pattern. And when I stopped cooperating, he decided I was a liability." "So you ran," Claire whispered. "I tried," Emily said. "I failed at first. His family pulled every string to get me back. They told everyone I was unstable, that I cheated, that I had dangerous mood swings." Claire's breath caught. "That's exactly what they're saying about me." Emily let out a humorless laugh. "Their playbook hasn't changed. They don't have to update it. It works." Claire lifted the file again, hands shaking. "What's in here?" "Proof," Emily said. "Everything I collected before I disappeared. I intended to use it." Her eyes lowered. But fear won. Claire opened the file with trembling fingers. Papers rustled softly. Photocopies of police reports that had been dismissed, notes from doctors Emily had visited, screenshots of emails, texts, pictures, financial records that didn't add up, a long list of complaints filed under Emily's name that she swore she never wrote, calls she never made, prescriptions she never picked up. Forgery, fabrication, a rewritten past. Claire skimmed as fast as her eyes allowed. It all looked familiar, too familiar. "He did this to you?" she said, voice breaking. "Yes." Claire kept reading. She found a page with Emily's medical records, injuries that were explained as accidental falls, a broken rib attributed to exercise, a sprained wrist marked as clumsiness. "They believed him," Claire said. "They always do." Claire closed the file and pressed her hand to her chest, fighting the wave of nausea rising in her chest. Why now? Why come back? Emily looked toward the window, her expression tightening. Because someone sent him a warning. Someone let him know his secrets weren't safe anymore. And when I saw he was targeting you the same way he targeted me, I knew I couldn't stand back again. Claire's heartbeat thudded in her skull. "You sent the footage." Emily didn't answer right away, but her silence said enough. "You've been watching him?" Claire whispered. Emily's eyes hardened. "He doesn't get to ruin another woman's life, not like he ruined mine." Claire clutched the file against her chest, feeling her world tilt in a new direction. Not safer, but clearer. "Where's Aaron, my brother? He disappeared." Emily's jaw tightened. "I've been trying to find him. If Michael feels cornered, he'll strike at whoever he sees as the problem, and right now, Aaron is the problem." Fear shot through Claire like electricity. "Is he alive?" "I don't know, honestly, but I'm looking." Claire's vision blurred. She blinked hard, refusing to collapse again.
Why did you go into hiding? Why not expose him sooner? Emily's eyes glossed with the pain Claire recognized. Because his family would have buried me. They would have dragged my name through the mud until no one remembered the truth, she whispered. They almost succeeded. Claire looked at the bruises on her own arms, the empty drawer, the lost friends, the ruined reputation, the detective's cautious silence, the paperwork showing her assets stolen months ago, the faint memory of Michael practicing a eulogy beside her bed. Yes, they would have buried her too. Emily leaned in, lowering her voice. "Claire, listen to me. You think you're at rock bottom now, but you're not. You're in the middle, and the bottom comes fast with a man like Michael." Claire felt her chest tighten. "What do I do?" Emily reached out and placed a hand over Claire's trembling fingers. "You survive," she said, "and then you fight." Claire looked down at the file again, the weight of its contents sinking into her bones. "How many others?" she whispered. Emily sucked in a shaky breath. "More than you want to know." Claire's pulse skipped. "More wives?" "No," Emily said. "Not wives, not all of them, but women he used, women he hurt, women he made disappear from his public life." Claire stared at her, horrified. "And his family helped him?" "Every step," Emily whispered. "That's the secret no one is supposed to find out." Claire felt the walls of the hospital room closing in around her. She pressed a hand to her ribs, breathing through the pain. He can't get away with this again." Emily lifted her chin. "He won't." "Why are you risking it now?" Claire asked, voice breaking. "Why come forward for me?" Emily hesitated, her eyes softened. "Because I was you once, and no one came for me." Claire's breath hitched. Emily stood and moved toward the door. "You're not alone now, and I won't let him write your story the way he wrote mine." Claire gripped the file tightly. "What happens next?" Emily looked over her shoulder. "Next," she said quietly, "you see the truth." She reached into her coat and pulled out one more item, a thick envelope sealed with tape. She placed it on Claire's lap beside the file. Claire looked down at it, confused. "What is this?" Emily stepped back, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's everything Michael never wanted anyone to see." Claire's fingers hovered over the envelope. Emily turned toward the door again, her silhouette framed by the hall light. "Open it," she said, "and you'll understand." Claire swallowed hard. Her hands trembled as she peeled the seal open. The envelope felt heavier than paper should. Inside, she saw the first page. Her breath stopped, her mind froze, her heart slammed against her ribs. It was a document she recognized, but twisted, used against her, engineered from the start. Emily watched her face as realization broke over her. Claire looked up slowly, horror settling into her bones. "Emily," she whispered, voice thin and cracking, "I wasn't the first." Emily nodded once. "You were never the first," she said, "but you need to be the last." Claire didn't sleep the rest of the night. Not after Emily's visit, not after seeing the documents that proved everything she suspected and everything she feared. She sat up in the dim hospital light, holding the file against her chest as if it was the only thing keeping her upright. The words echoed in her mind. "You were never the first. You need to be the last." By sunrise, Claire felt something she hadn't felt in weeks. Not strength, not confidence, just clarity. A
a sharp, hard line inside her that told her she wasn't going to survive this by hiding. She had evidence, she had truth, and she had someone who had already lived this nightmare and escaped. She needed one more person, Aaron. She paced the room in short, shaky steps. Every movement hurt, but she didn't stop. She whispered his name under her breath like a mantra, praying he was out there, alive, safe. When the door opened, Claire spun around so fast she nearly lost her balance. It wasn't Michael, it wasn't Emily, it was the detective, and behind him, Claire choked on a breath. Aaron. Her brother stepped into the room looking exhausted, bruised, and shaken, but alive. He moved toward her without hesitation, pulling her into a careful hug. Claire pressed her face against his shoulder, tears flooding her eyes. "Where were you? What happened?" "I thought—" He pulled back, shaking his head. "I'm okay, I promise. He had security drag me out, said I was creating a disturbance. Someone from the hospital called the police for trespassing, but a different cop recognized me and let me go." Claire held his face in her hands. "I thought you hurt him." Aaron's throat tightened. "He tried to scare me, and he almost did, but I'm not leaving you again." The detective closed the door behind him. "We need to talk." Claire straightened, nerves prickling. "Is this about the footage?" "Partly, but mostly because I'm done pretending your husband is simply difficult. What's happening here is bigger, and whoever sent that envelope knew things only an insider could know." Claire and Aaron exchanged a look. She hesitated for a half-second, then spoke quietly. "It was Emily." The detective blinked. "Emily Turner? As in—" "She's alive," Aaron said, "and she has proof." Claire handed the detective the file Emily had given her. He opened it slowly, his eyes scanning the pages, his jaw tightening with each line he read. "Jesus," he whispered. "He did all this?" "He does it to anyone he thinks he can control," Claire said. "His family helped him hide it. They covered everything." The detective took a deep breath, steady, decisive. "Then we'll expose them all." For the first time since the hospital, Claire felt the ground under her feet steady. "We're going to need more than just this," the detective said. "We need recordings, statements, digital records, anything that shows a pattern." Aaron pulled out his phone. "I still have the original video. He took the spare copy, but I backed everything up." Claire's heart lifted. "Thank God." "And," Aaron said carefully, "I found something else." He opened a folder on his phone, scrolling until he reached it. He said, "I got access to security footage from the night you were brought in. Not just the hallway part, the full timeline." Claire braced herself as he hit play. The screen showed Michael entering the hospital lobby carrying her in his arms. But even without sound, it was obvious. He looked annoyed, not scared, impatient, not worried. Then another clip, Michael talking to a nurse, smiling, joking, rehearsing his lie even before she was checked in. Then another, Michael pacing the hallway, calm enough to take a phone call where he laughed. Claire pressed her mouth. "That's not a man trying to save his wife. That's a man managing an image." Aaron nodded. "And the staff who saw him last night, some of them noticed the shift, the perfect husband act, the strange questions he asked." "They'll testify," the detective said, "especially after we show him this." Claire sank into the chair beside the bed. Her hands trembled, but her breathing felt different now. Not panicked, not lost, focused. She wasn't alone. For the first time, she wasn't alone. "Aaron," she whispered, "thank you."
He sat beside her. "You shouldn't be thanking me. I should have come sooner." "You came exactly when I needed you," she said. The detective closed the file. "There's more," he said. "I looked into your financial records after you mentioned issues. Your accounts didn't glitch. They were systematically drained and rerouted." Claire's chest tightened. "He stole everything." "He isolated you," the detective corrected. "Financially, socially, physically, and that makes the legal case stronger." Claire let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. The detective continued, "I've also spoken to a nurse who treated Emily years ago. She recognized similar injuries on you. She's willing to testify." Claire pressed her palm to her forehead. It was overwhelming. Truth after truth,
proof after proof, but she needed it. She needed every piece. Aaron leaned forward. So what happens next? We build an airtight case, the detective said, and when the time is right, we'll take him in before he has a chance to spin another story. Claire nodded, but a shadow lingered in the back of her mind. Michael wouldn't go down without a fight. He wouldn't vanish quietly. He would lash out before he lost everything, and he would aim at her. As if sensing her fear, Aaron touched her arm. We're here, me and Emily. Claire swallowed hard. Where is she now? Watching, Aaron said. She didn't want to be in the open yet, not until we have everything ready. Claire imagined Emily in the hospital shadows, keeping track of Michael's movements, guarding the truth she had nearly died for. A soft knock came at the door. All three of them tensed. A nurse peeked in. Mrs. Turner, you have someone on the visitor list under the name Emily Ross. She smiled. She said she's an old friend. Claire exchanged a glance with Aaron. Emily must have been waiting for the detective to see the file before revealing herself in a more official way. Send her in, Claire said. The nurse nodded and disappeared. Claire's heart beat fast. What would Emily say? What would she bring? What would happen when the detective spoke to her officially? The door opened, but it wasn't Emily. It was Michael. He stepped inside with a calm smile, carrying a clipboard and a stack of papers. The nurse behind him looked annoyed, as if she'd been brushed aside. Michael closed the door in her face. Claire froze. Aaron stood so fast his chair scraped the floor. Get out! Michael ignored him. He walked straight to Claire, laying the papers on the edge of her bed. What is that? She whispered. Just routine documentation, he said with a soft smile. Hospital discharge, insurance, a formal statement clearing me of wrongdoing. Claire felt her throat close. You'll sign this, Michael said quietly, and everything gets easier for you, for all of us. Aaron stepped between them. She's not signing anything. Michael tilted his head, eyes cold. Aaron, be smart. This doesn't concern you. It concerns me when you hurt my sister, Aaron shot back. Michael breathed out slowly, as if dealing with a stubborn child. Claire, talk to him. Tell him we don't need more drama. Claire looked up at him, and for once, she didn't see the man she married. She saw the man Emily described, the man who played roles, built lies, crafted narratives with the precision of a surgeon. And now he was cornered, desperate, dangerous. Michael moved closer to her, lowering his voice. If you sign this, Claire, everything goes back to normal. She held his gaze. Normal for who? He smiled. For us. Her stomach turned. His fingers brushed the paper, sliding it toward her. You don't have a future if you don't sign this. Your accounts are frozen. Your reputation is gone. Your friends think you're unstable. And the detective, he smirked, he'll learn exactly how persuasive my family can be. Aaron stepped forward, but Michael lifted a hand without looking at him. Don't. Michael leaned in close, whispering, You sign or you lose everything. For the first time, Claire didn't flinch. She looked at him with something cold, centered, and steady. What if, she whispered, I already lost everything you can take? Michael blinked. Before he could respond, a voice spoke from the doorway. That's enough. Claire's heart jumped, but she didn't turn around. She already knew who it was. Emily. Michael stiffened and the room shifted. Claire exhaled a shaky breath, knowing the moment of truth was coming, but not yet. Michael turned toward the doorway, and for the first time Claire met him, he saw something new in his expression. Fear. Emily stepped into the room with slow, steady steps. Her chin lifted, her eyes locked on him. She looked nothing like a ghost now. She looked real, solid, unshakable. Michael's voice cracked. You're dead. Emily's gaze didn't move. You wanted me dead. That's not the same thing. Claire felt Aaron shift beside her, ready to intervene if Michael lunged, but Michael didn't move. He couldn't. His entire world had just walked into the room wearing the face of the woman whose story he'd buried. You ruined everything, Michael whispered. You were supposed to stay gone. Emily crossed her arms. You don't get to decide who gets to exist. The door opened again and 2 detectives stepped inside. The original detective, the one who had helped Claire, stood out front, expression firm. Mr. Turner, we need to speak with you. Michael straightened, forcing confidence back into his posture. This is absurd. I'm with my wife. We're discussing a personal matter. You have no right. We have every right, Emily cut in, especially now that I've given them everything. Michael's eyes snapped to Claire, accusing her as if she had orchestrated all of it. You did this, he hissed. Claire met his gaze. No, she said. You did. Aaron placed a protective hand on her shoulder. Claire didn't look away from Michael. She held his stare for the first time without fear choking her. The detective stepped forward. Mr. Turner, we need to speak with you in connection with multiple allegations, including assault, coercion, and financial fraud. Michael laughed, a short, broken sound. You have nothing. Emily walked closer, pulling a USB drive from her pocket. We have everything. Another detective held up a folder. We have 9 statements from hospital staff, including nurses who witnessed your behavior the night Claire was brought in. I was concerned for my wife. And, the detective continued, we have video footage showing inconsistencies in your story. Michael's face flickered. He couldn't hide the panic now. Emily stepped even closer. And you forgot the best part. Michael's breath hitched. Emily leaned in just enough for him to hear her clearly. You forgot the parts of the story I took with me when I left. Michael lunged forward a step, but Aaron blocked him instantly, shoving him back with a force that rattled the IV stand behind him. Don't touch her. The detectives took control, grabbing Michael's arms before he could reach anyone. He struggled, twisting, his perfect composure shattering into raw panic. This is a mistake. You don't understand. She's lying. They're all lying. Emily shook her head slowly.
That line worked when I was alone. Not anymore. Claire watched him fight against the officers, watched the mask he wore every day slip off his face, revealing the man she had been living with, the man she once thought she could fix, the man she once thought loved her. There was no love in him, only entitlement, only fear of losing control. You can't do this, Michael shouted as they forced him toward the door. Claire, look at me. Tell them the truth. Tell them. Claire stood. Her body trembled, but her voice didn't. I am, she said, for the first time. Michael's face twisted, rage, disbelief, desperation, as they pulled him out of the room and down the hallway. His words echoed until the door finally closed behind him. Silence settled into the space he had occupied. Heavy, final, clean. Claire sank back onto the bed, shaking, but she didn't feel weak. She felt emptied out, cleared, a new beginning waiting under the rubble. Emily walked to her and took her hand. You did it. Claire shook her head. We did it. Aaron sat on the edge of the bed, his voice soft. I'm not leaving your side again. Claire leaned into him for a moment, closing her eyes. The fear was still inside her somewhere, but it didn't own her anymore. It didn't control her limbs or her breath. It didn't tell her to hide. She opened her eyes. I want to testify, she said. I want everything on record. The detective nodded. You'll have that chance, and we'll make sure you're safe. Emily gently squeezed Claire's fingers. This time, no one gets to bury the truth. The next days passed in a blur of statements, interviews, documents handed over, and witnesses stepping forward. One by one, hospital staff admitted what they'd seen. A few even apologized for believing Michael's performance. Michael's family tried briefly to contain the story. Then the evidence hit the media. Headlines exploded. Reporters swarmed. The family's PR machine collapsed under the weight of years of buried secrets coming to light. Michael was charged. His family faced accusations of conspiracy and obstruction.
Emily resurfaced publicly with legal protection. Aaron stayed by Claire's side, steady and unshaken. When Claire was strong enough to leave the hospital, she stepped out into sunlight that felt warm, real, earned. She rebuilt her life slowly, carefully, on her own terms. She opened her first bank account in her name alone. She moved into a small place she paid for herself. She took back pieces of her identity one day at a time. And then came the day of the final confrontation. Claire walked into the holding area, escorted by the detective. Michael sat in a small room with a pane of glass between them. His hair was unstyled, his shirt wrinkled, his eyes flat and dark. He sneered when he saw her. "Come to say sorry?" She sat down calm, unshaken. "No," she said. "I came to tell you something." He leaned back, smirking. "You think you won? You think anyone will remember your little story after this blows over?" Claire studied him for a long moment before answering. "You didn't break me," she said quietly. "You only proved who you really are." He rolled his eyes. "Spare me." "You built your whole life around how people see you," Claire continued, "but the world saw the truth the moment you lost control of the narrative." She stood again. "You don't get to define me anymore. Not my life, not my future, not my voice." Michael opened his mouth to speak, but she didn't let him. "You controlled me in the dark," she said, "but the light exposes everything." She turned to leave. "Claire," he hissed, "I made you." She stopped at the door. "No," she said softly, "you underestimated me." She left him sitting there in silence. Weeks passed. Emily appeared on talk shows, telling her story at last, protected, heard, believed. Aaron accompanied Claire to every court hearing, every interview, every step she took toward reclaiming her life. Claire learned to breathe again, to sleep again, to trust her voice again. She stood in front of her new apartment one morning, the sunrise hitting her face, her chest rising with a breath that felt like hers for the first time in years. And she thought of all the moments she had believed her life was over, all the moments Michael believed she would never rise again, all the moments he counted on her silence. She whispered the truth to herself like a promise. She rose because he underestimated her, and that was his final mistake.